Iowa.
From high school to international wrestling, on the mat and beyond, this is the Potentially Dangerous podcast with the guys from IWCOA.
If you're a fighter, you like a fight. If you're an American, you like a fight. If you're an Iowa Hawkeye, you know you're going to get a fight.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and all your podcast-friendly apps. And follow us on social media platforms at IWCOA. Time to strap it up and get to the show.
Welcome to Potentially Dangerous, episode 125. Here with Tony Hager, Lars Underbakke. We're back at you 2 weeks in a row, back to back. Last week got a great crowd listening in, doing questions, had comments. So we appreciate everybody listening in last week and this week. Really appreciate it. Lars, we had a fun little weekend up in Waverly. Yeah, it's really hard to kind of explain it, I guess, unless you were there and talking to the people. I mean, you can listen to interviews that Rachel Waters did on our YouTube page at youtube.com/iWrestleTV, and you can kind of hear a little bit about why this is special, why Lars and I are saying this, So I think the biggest takeaway is just the girls, the hearing girls say that they didn't have confidence before and now they have it, or they feel like they can kind of come out of their shell and they're not afraid of doing new things anymore. That's pretty cool.
Hard work, discipline, all these great attributes that you get just from being a wrestler. Why shouldn't the girls have those same opportunities? Not only the opportunities to move on to college and do other things, but to learn those values and to gain that confidence. And you could just see these girls at the state tournament, the emotion and just what it really meant to them was just so cool to see. Like, for me, one of the moments was watching Alber jump into her dad's arms. And her dad's a longtime high school coach. And he's had all these boys, that have been successful and different things going on. And has a guy like that ever thought that his daughter, that he'd have his daughter jumping into his arms after she won a state title? And it's just incredible, watching Sydney Park and Jason Lloyd afterwards, and just all these people that have worked with these girls for all these years, and to see those moments that we've seen at the boys' high school tournament, and to be able to see the girls and those coaches enjoy those moments as well was, I don't know about you, but there was moments there where, I'm not even that involved with the girls specifically, and, I found myself getting emotional at times.
Yeah, I think there's different ways you could look at it of why you can be emotional, because if you are, I think that's a good thing. Just because you are for wrestling, and you're wanting to see these people have those type of conversations about, wow, this is pretty special. I mean, these girls we've seen girls win matches before, but to get so excited, jumping in coach's arms is just a different type of experience. But obviously, great weekend. The biggest takeaway from it, obviously, again, was not only the girls finally got to be have the state tournament, but they're on the big stage. They put them center mat in Waverly. The boys, honestly, were an afterthought. There wasn't a whole lot of good matches, so there's no reason to put them in the middle, I guess. There were some good kids there, but I think they got that right for sure.
Yeah, hats off to Waverly for kind of, I know there was different talks of how they were going to run the rounds, maybe mixing them in, different things like that. But, after some teams canceled on the boys tournament and stuff, they just kind of ended up sliding the guys to the side, kind of in that, little auxiliary part of the gym over there. The girls had those 3 mats, center stage. I didn't find that many people watching the boys. Every time something would happen on the girls' mats, the crowd was super into it. They were center stage. It was a huge crowd. That place was packed. There's people standing around the top. Just the whole atmosphere. I thought everything about it. They really just hit it all. It was just a great run tournament. I can't say enough about it.
You know, Jean Berger from the Iowa Girls Association was there. When she was asked about what her thoughts were on the tournament, I can't remember exact comments, but she wouldn't comment on what the next step is for them. But man, if she didn't have a pulse, if she was in that crowd and didn't see how those girls were getting recognized. I mean, when I can't remember what weight it was. Weight came down to like the last takedown.
Barons and
Diggins. And everyone's focus is on that one mat. There's no other sport that you can have that recognition from. Okay, this was Waverly, right? So it was a specific, it was a different circumstance, I guess. But like everyone from their school is just cheering, going crazy, and that takedown and just to see a community rally around is, you just can't you can't experience that for one individual, right? You can get that, a basketball team, they win they shoot a three, everyone goes crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I even got at times I almost felt like you were back at the barn, because there was, when, somebody was wrestling during the day and you'd see like a team sitting around the mat. And just, the people were so close and kind of on top of the mats. And just felt a little bit more loud and rowdy to me. Kind of took me back to the good old days of the barn. Instead of now at Wells, nobody can be on the floor. You don't really have all that going on. I know Matt Waters tweeted some pictures of it too and really talked about it, but it was really neat. When a girl from Osage or Charles City or Waverly or any of these schools that had a lot of girls, when one of them was on the mat, they were literally like lining the edge of the mat. The coaches, the wrestler, you know what I mean? Like, it was almost like they had another cheering section right on the edge of the mat, and good or bad, it was really cool to see. They were into it. There was the boy wrestlers, that were in their own tournament were coming over and watching it and cheering on these girls and having, they were having a good time watching it. It was just, I don't know, it just felt like everybody was together. Everybody was there for that one cause. It was bigger than any particular match or any particular person. And it just, I don't know, I felt like it just created so much for those girls, and it was such a cool thing. And, just, I think made everybody feel like it really is going somewhere. Like, girls wrestling is here to stay. It's going in the right direction, and there's no stopping it now.
I mean, right after the tournament, I got texts from some people, pretty powerful people in the wrestling world, that were seeing the social media stuff. They saw some of the matches, saw some maybe the interviews right away, and said, we need to get behind this. We want this at our venue. Like, take this out of a high school. One person, we want it in Iowa City. Another person says, we want that in Des Moines. We might not be able to get Wells Fargo right away. We want that the county, at the state fairgrounds. Like, people are recognizing that this is a time to get in on this right now. And we're talking big money here to get this, like a 10-year commitment is what I was told. That they would step up and say, we're going to get this amount of money for 10 years. We want it. So this is happening whether people want it to happen or not. If there's people that are out there, I mean, I don't know if Jean Berger is that lady, if she is just gung-ho and just going to have her face in the sand and not make this happen. There's going to be other people that will go around her, and the boys are going to do it because it's such an easy way to add a division to the Iowa High School State Tournament at Wells Fargo. Too many good things to take away from this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of interesting too. I had some conversations with some people around the tournament, and I had a good conversation with KJ Pilcher and Cody Goodwin and stuff after the tournament about what really is best for the sport. And, a lot of people think we got to sanction the sport right now. The more I was around that tournament, the more people I've talked to, different things, I actually don't think it's in the best interest to sanction it right now. I think the fact of having a sanctioned tournament is the way to go for the moment, until you can get really big numbers, because I mean, there's just so much to think about when you're sanctioning an entire sport as far as separate coaches. You might have to get separate uniforms. possibly separate practice schedules or separate rooms. I mean, there's just so many different things where if really we're just going to go with, hey, we've got all these girls tournaments throughout the year. We've got a girls state tournament, hopefully sanctioned. I think that's the way to grow for right now. I don't think the money is going to be invested by the schools at the moment to completely separate the sport. And I don't know that that's a good thing for 200 girls. If we get to the point of 500, 700, 1,000 girls, I think that's when you think about expanding it, because then there's so many more schools that have numbers. So if you sanction it out now, your Waverly, Denver, Charles City, some of those might be able to have that team, might be able to make it happen, but Logan Magnolia had 2 girls. Iowa Valley took 1 girl. She happened to be a state champ, but 1 girl. How can you justify having that sport at your school? So are we all of a sudden killing opportunities for these small schools by making it its own separate sport? Because that school can't say, hey, yeah, we're going to sanction girls wrestling and hire a coach when we have 1 girl. When they're practicing with the boys, Coach Kriegel was there for Iowa Valley. A lot of these head coaches were there. I think just having that tournament for right now is the right way to go until, and I think it's on that way. We're on that path. It's going to explode. We're going to get bigger numbers, but for right now, I kind of like the direction it's going, and I just kind of hope they sanction that tournament, maybe put it in Wells, get it to a bigger place if they have to. The more I talk about it and think about it, I don't think we want to sanction the sport yet.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that point. With that too, I mean, the IWCOA did, I think, a great job. The awards were top notch. I don't know if anybody saw those, but we had a couple tweets of those out there. So the awards were great. They recognized the girls. If you weren't there, 106 got over, or 113 got over with. They brought in 106, and they were recognized just like they were at the state tournament. Obviously not the same venue, not the same acoustics, and there's no video of them, but it still had that same kind of feel on a lower, on a smaller scale. So IWCOA is definitely prepared to have this tournament every year. They can move it away from Waverly and they could have it themselves. They can just have a tournament, just like IWrestle could have an Iowa high school state tournament, just like AU wrestling has a girls state championship coming up. Iowa USA State, they can have it. But IWCOA, it just had a little bit more legitimate feel behind it. So I'm on board with them running this forward. Because, too, I mean, when you get the Iowa High School Athletic Association involved, too, there could be a little bit more red tape, too, with it. I mean, for one, we wouldn't be able to broadcast it, so I'd be pretty bummed. So there would be no highlights. None of the media members would be able to do any highlights. You could do some interviews, but there's no highlights from it. That's the way that how the high school boys situation is. So, we'll see how it goes. Jean Berger, I think her opportunity to make this happen for them is going to go by. I think somehow, the Boys Association is going to make this happen within the next year. I think something they're going to see this. They see all the good positive buzz around it, and they'll make it happen. I've heard talks about, there's options to where they could do the girls division on Wednesday in between some of the duels, which, I mean, could happen, right? I mean, what are your thoughts on Wednesday? I mean, ideal.
I like having it Wednesday and just bumping the duels a week out again, or 2 weeks out, whatever that is ideal. I don't know if that's going to happen. My other thought is Sunday. So people are in town. It's still a weekend. You're not missing any more school. Officials are in town. Media's in town. Either go girls that Sunday, or better yet for me would be girls Wednesday, state duels Sunday after the individuals are done. You don't have to worry about people getting injured during duels, anything like that. You give them a little bit of a weight allowance based on the fact that most teams are going to have individuals that were in the state tournament. Gives coaches more play. you don't have to worry about injuries. It's the last competition. Go out for duels, get it done. My other thing is I'm still of the opinion that there's no need for consolation bracket at state duels. To me, if you lose at state duels, there's no reason to keep going in consolations because people are going to half the time throw those anyway. They're not going to wrestle their starters if it's on Wednesday. So if you move that to Sunday, I think you either A, can still do that, shorten it up, get people out of there quicker, or if you do a consolation, people aren't so worried about things like injuries, things like that. You might see more people actually fighting back on the backside.
Well, there was a good crowd there, so I think they could get the amount of people at the state tournament on Wednesday that they do for the duels, move the duels somewhere else, and that's where everybody wants to go. But I think there'll be a way. They'll figure out a way. If they're gonna do it, they're gonna figure out a way to get it all done still underneath that same Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday window. I mean, I don't see them going away from that just because of money. Money is the number one driving factor. I do think too that the state duels are going to change the format as well. So I think there's been some rumors. There's been some rumors of adding another class to the state duels that won't be the individual. So we'll get more teams into the state tournament for duels to make some of these lower 3A teams that just can't compete with the Southeast Pokes. You know, like Glenwood is a team that could do really well in 3A, but they couldn't do. They're not going to do well at 4A. That's just an example. So there's going to be a lot of changes, I think, coming because of the girls, and the girls are going to make that happen. It's just going to depend on how fast it happens. Because I think people want it to happen tomorrow, right?
Right.
So let's. You got anything else on the girls?
No, just incredible event. The other thing that stood out to me is high-level wrestling. You know, I think people have always looked at results of some of these girls, how they did against the boys. You know, not many have been to state. You know, Felicity Taylor getting 100 wins was a huge deal. Things like that. And I think people in some ways have always thought, you know, maybe the girls, quote-unquote, weren't as good. To me, it's more of a physical strength thing. When you watched those matches on Saturday when it was them against each other, to me what stood out was the high level of wrestling. Like they're not, the technique's still there. They're really good wrestlers. They just needed that chance to be able to compete against each other. You know, I felt like they let it all out. They weren't holding anything back. You know, I think at state sometimes we'll see guys keep it close. I know you see it at the next level too of they're not necessarily going to take a lot of risks because they don't want to give up any, you know, big moves, things like that, and lose a match. I didn't feel like that at all Saturday. I felt like the girls just laid it all out there, wrestled at a high level. I don't know. Just, again, I just thought it was an amazing event, and I can't wait for it next year.
Yeah, I think one thing, too, is I think the girls aren't there yet. I'd like to see them, if they're going to go forward with it here in the near future, with only place to 6. I think 8 places waters it down. I think the boys are watered down. I think it's a joke, honestly, that 8 they place out to 8. It's just kind of the way that our culture is now. Is you see it with administration canceling going to some of these tournaments on Saturday. And it's just because of forecast. I mean, back when we were wrestling, you didn't know that you were not going to that tournament until Saturday morning, 6 a.m. Hey, we're not going to that tournament. Now we're canceling tournaments at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, just because kids can eat or something. Like, come on, dude. We got to stop being. There are so many tournaments that could have happened on Saturday, and they didn't happen. So I mean, we gotta. That's a different kind of a tangent, I guess, as far as IWCOA, but the tournament goes. But there could have been a lot more people at that girls' tournament and at the boys' tournament. Ed Winger got canceled, whatever. Okay, let's move on to dual team rankings. Those got released tonight, And if you're new to Potentially Dangerous, or if you're new to high school dual team rankings, so I started doing dual team rankings, I think, a year ago or 2 years ago?
I think a couple years ago.
2 years ago we started doing it. In the past, it's always been the IWCOA has done these dual team rankings, and what that means is they send out a survey, and coaches, 1A, they will vote for their top ranked wrestlers. So we are expecting, and this is 1A, 2A, and 3A. So we're expecting someone in clear up Northwest Iowa, Southeast Iowa to know what's happening in the middle of Iowa, or vice versa, whatever. It's an absolute joke, and it's costing teams possibly an opportunity to wrestle at the state tournament. I know you mentioned something about 2A rankings kind of being out of bounds. Crestwood, use Cresco as they beat, who did you say they beat?
Well, they've beat Osage, they've beat New Hampton, who's number 3, and that's a tough one. So I don't know your thoughts on dual rankings. So New Hampton, for instance, been missing some guys. But they've still lost. You know what I mean? Like, how do you factor in what they could be versus what they actually have been this year? You know what I mean? Like, I think everybody's given them the benefit of the doubt based on they think, well, when, Cam Raising's going to hit the lineup now, they've had some injuries or different people, shifting weights, things like that. We think they're going to be good, so we're going to rank them really high. Well, when you actually look at the resume of what they've done this year, maybe we're giving them too much credit. I don't know that they deserve to be number 3 based off of their actual wins and losses. Like, I think they're capable of doing really well. I do. I think they're a good team. But when you actually look at resume of who they've beat, who they've been beat by, I think maybe they're a little high. Cresco's beat them. Cresco's beat Osage. They've split. How do you judge some of those teams? Same thing with PCM. Obviously, PCM's our number 1 team in tournament rankings. They've missed some guys this year. Roland missed a ton of time. Peyton Drake missed time. They've had a few other guys, maybe not those highest guys, but some other guys that have missed time. They're finally getting healthy. I think they're in that same boat. They could be pretty good. Well, based on the resume, they really haven't been that great, but they get slotted down at 12. So where's that difference of potential versus what have you actually done this year? And I think there's a huge separation there. I think New Hampton and PCM are very comparable in that regard, but yet they're 9 spots apart. So I don't know. I just think there's a lot of, you got to go one way or the other. But by the coaches doing it, they're all voting different ways. Some are going off potential, some are going off a resume. And it's just a mixed bag when you put these together for the coaches instead of, if there's a committee voting in its criteria of one way or the other, I think it becomes much more straightforward and it all makes sense.
And if there's some people just based off these rankings, they just clearly do it off of how they've done in the past, like their tradition. Like, there's teams in here that are not very good that are in these rankings, but the team's like, that I'm not going to call anybody out, but they see this team name. All right, well, we'll just put them in there because they're probably good. Like, I don't blame the coaches. That's the thing. Is like, I don't blame these guys. They got so much stuff going on, so much. I mean, we're just trying to get kids to the state wrestling tournament, trying to win duels. We're trying to get, especially 1A, 2A. We're trying to fill lineups. And these guys are asked to do rankings clear across the state. Some coaches, yes, will take this very seriously. But some of them just really don't care. Some of them don't even care about putting the results in track wrestling.
Right.
So then coaches are like, there's teams out there that don't have the results in there and they're mandated to do that. And then how are coaches supposed to base it off that? I think your best option, my opinion is we need to get just somebody from the district, get district people that are doing these rankings, there could be a committee that would vote one person to say this is who I think should be on it, or then there could be a third party that could have another say. There's just got to be a different way than what is happening now. And from what I've been told, based off of what I've been hearing, it is going to change. Next year it's going to change. But right now 3A.
Well,
Go ahead. We'll keep still staying on 2A.
I mean, another thing is, if we're seeding individual state based off of kind of an RPI or track wrestling criteria, whatever you want to call it, is there a way to do dual teams that way? You know what I mean? Because they say they're factoring in things like strength of schedule. I look at these and I can pick out teams that maybe haven't wrestled good of a schedule, so all of a sudden their record's really good. Well, again, it's which way you going, because I just see so much disparity on different teams of, one team with a really good record is ranked super high and the next team with a really good record is ranked really low, and maybe their schedules aren't as different as people think they are. So again, it's not a matter of, to me, the biggest issue is there's just so much inconsistency in the way they're being ranked. I don't know. I think you could go multiple ways and flip some of them, but which way is it? Do you want a good record? Do you want strength of schedule? I don't think anybody knows. I think these coaches are all voting differently, where I think if a committee or if there's some way to computerize it, I don't know, but I think there just needs to be more consistency in the way that they're being assembled.
Computers is going to be hard too, because like with injuries and how people move people out of lineup and how people dodge people too. They dodge those big time matchups. Or kids are sick, they can't wrestle till the second part of the year. There's lots of factors that go in that. I just think coaches, number one problem is there's politics involved. These coaches have a buddy that they want to see get in. Hey, I'll vote for you, you vote for me. And any coach that says that that's not happening is full of shit, because it is happening. I've talked to coaches that I've seen text messages from coaches that say, vote for, we'll do the same. Like, that's not how this should be happening. There's a saying like, okay, well, the right teams are going to win when it comes down to it. All that matters is who wins the state dual championship. That's true, but we should have the right people getting that opportunity to make the state tournament. They should have that. That regional dual pairing is so big, and it's really big in obviously Class 3A, and Class 3A is kind of a mess.
It is, and the other thing with that is, so in Class 3A, I believe they gave the top teams all host the regionals, correct? In Class 2A, you have Davenport Assumption is rated number 4, and they're not hosting a regional. How does that work? So you're saying that we have to have so many teams on the east, so many teams out west, but you have number 10 Williamsburg hosting, and you don't have number 4 Assumption hosting? Again, where's the consistency? What are you doing? Either the top 8 teams host or they don't.
Sometimes.
Is there any point in doing these dual rankings if you're not going to give those schools the opportunity to host either?
There could be an issue with, if there's a basketball game or there's other things going on in those gyms. So I do know that the Iowa High School Athletic Association is kind of handcuffed sometimes of where they have sectionals, where they have districts. Not every school wants to have these events, actually. So I did learn that. So that is that's straight from the Iowa High School Athletic Association. That their hands are kind of tied sometimes when it comes to where these regionals are. So I kind of see your argument, right? Like Truro, they're hosting one. They're ranked 13th. Right. Maybe nobody else wanted one, I guess. I don't know. So either way, I think that this whole process with dual team rankings, I've voiced my opinion. I think I think we should. I think the predicament should be involved. I think there should be other media outlets. I would love to, but you don't know their commitment if they want to or not. So that's fine if they do. But I know that I wrestle, and I know the predicament do dual team rankings. So between the two of us, and then maybe another small committee of past, you just can't have coaches, I think, in the thick of things right now. To be a consistent product. I think you're just going to get a lot of politics involved, and you're not going to get coaches that are going to be 100% in. You might be able to get a handful of them that could be all in, and still there's going to be a little bit of politics going on with that. So, is there anything that stuck out to you as well? I mean, as far as the pairings go? With 3A, 3A is different.
2A, but
yeah.
I don't know. It's just interesting. Like, I don't know. Norwalk and Valley. I thought Norwalk being 9 was a little interesting. That'll be a good one. I thought Ankeny probably got a little bit of a shaft in these. Ankeny versus Des Moines East. 2 pretty good teams. The winner gets Southeast Polk.
Yeah.
Good luck. I thought that really could have been changed a little bit, but
Ankeny is a sneaky team. They got that. That's going to be a team that should be at Wells Fargo. I think they could make it, but that ranking is kind of out there. Fort Dodge beat Waukee. They're at number 5, and they forfeited 220. Norwalk at number 9 was a little interesting. I'm not really sure that they got Valley, so, Valley's an interesting team, I think, as well. I think no one really knows what they've got with Valley in Class 3A. Waukee's a team that surprised a lot of people last year. They're ranked high right now. They gotta win big duels, man. They haven't been able to win the big duels, but maybe this will be their year. They should have no problem getting through. But Waverly Shell Rock, Dubuque Hempstead, that'll be a fun little duel. Either way, we could probably sit down and break down all these duels, but Yankee Centennial at number 3, I don't know. That's a tough team. They're undefeated, but either way, the system has to change. And the coaches, I just don't know why the coaches aren't speaking up. Maybe they are. I don't know. But if I'm a coach, I don't want that. I don't want to have to deal with these rankings. I got plenty of other stuff that go on. These guys most of them are teachers. They got to teach class. And then they got to worry about rankings and just too much BS to deal with. So, anything else on rankings, Lars, you want to get off your chest?
No, we'll let those ones go. But new individual rankings come in 1A and 2A on Tuesday.
Now, do you think coaches use the tournament team rankings?
I think at times those can come into play.
I've seen.
I don't know that they should, but
yeah, I think do people not know that the tournament team rankings are not actually? There's no bias to them. It's based off of points of how they're ranked. So tournament and duel are 2 different things, and that people don't seem to understand that either.
Right.
Which is kind of frustrating. So, all right, let's move on to CIML. Easily the toughest conference tournament in the state, right? Is there even another one?
I don't know. Adam Fellers usually thinks 1A is a lot better, so there might be some good ones there, but I guess we'll give it to CIML this time.
Adam Fellers hasn't probably watched one single high school duel this year. Anyway, CIML. This thing is absolutely loaded. And we didn't get to, typically we get to see the Ed Winger, which is kind of like a mini CIML. Right? The Ed Winger got canceled, so almost all these teams go to Ed Winger. For some reason, these tournaments happen back to back and it's the same teams. Whatever. CIML, Southeast Polk, number 1, Valley, number 3, Ankeny Centennial, number 4, Waukee, 5, Fort Dodge, 6, Mason City, number 8, East, number 9, and Ankeny, number 10. Tournament team rankings. That's loaded. That is your top 10 3A tournament teams besides you're missing Waverly Shell Rock, right? So I guess maybe people say that our 3A rankings is centralized. We're a homer here in Des Moines, Iowa, but let's be honest, some of the best kids in the state are definitely in the CIML. I mean, have you seen the breakdown of this yet? It hasn't gone on the site life
No,
yet.
I haven't really watched yet or looked at it yet.
So, all right, let's break it down real quick. How much time we got here? 35 minutes. All right,
we always got time.
We're at 35. We always got time. Short time. I see Jason Bryant's on the podcast. Thanks for joining us, JB. What's it say? You always got time for short time. Okay. All right, 106. Trevor Anderson. Man, very easily could be number 1 in the state. The other site has a number 1. Riggins, it's hard. I mean, how do you put Riggins? How do you not put Riggins number 1? State champ. He's been great. So Trevor Anderson number 2. I think he's got it. Lane Cowell could be the guy that I think could upset some people right there. Mason City's got a freshman that's finally in the lineup as well. Name is over my head right now. Gosh, what the hell is his name? Anyways, Mason City, 106-pounder. Watch him for him. I'm pretty sure he's in the lineup now. 113, Drake Ayala, Fort Dodge. He's got number 2, Cahoe from Lincoln. Harmison, Southeast Polk, number 3. Thurman Christian, number 7. Cale Cox, number 8. So 113 is going to be loaded, but Drake Ayala, man, I don't see how anybody's going to beat him in the state.
I'll be surprised if anybody keeps it to a regular decision on him all year.
Jace Rhodes, thank you. Jace Rhodes is in the lineup for Mason City. That is a name that you definitely need to be on the lookout for. So excited for Mason City to have another hammer. Doesn't have his training partner, but Mason City's got to come another stud there. 120, obviously Schreiber's out, so Carson Taylor moves up to be the big favorite there. Kingery, Nick Miller. Carson Taylor dominated Nick Miller in in that duel. So I mean Taylor I think is going to be the guy there. He's like another Fort Dodge. Those lightweights, those guys just seem to all wrestle the same. Lars, they've got that outside single. They're just constantly on your head. They're constantly attacking, constantly moving forward. 126. You got the top 4 kids in the state: Ratchie, Oldham, Edwards, and Jordan from East. We've seen this. Ratchie, Oldham. I'm assuming that we're going to see that in the finals again. I'm taking Ratchie just because he has just been so down on his feet. Oldham hasn't been able to figure it out. He hasn't been able to find his offense. But that's another state finals matchup right there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the match everybody wants to see again, I think. We've seen it twice this year, but I don't think anybody's going to complain if you see it a couple more times. Like you said, I think Oldham just needs to open it up a little bit, get on his offense. He's obviously more than capable of winning that match. I'm not going to doubt him, but until he does, it's hard to go against Ratchie until we see Oldham open up and get it done.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely Oldham's got the capability to do it, but the last couple of matches it's been all Caleb. So that's going to be, Brooks Cowell in there. We've got the only people that are not in the top 10 in the 3A class rankings is number 5 and number 6, the CIML. That's how loaded this bracket's going to be at 26. 32. And you don't have, Desaruga is back. So you're going to have him in there. So 132. Ben Monroe. Ben Monroe is a guy that I think a lot of people doubted all throughout his high school career, but I think I mean, he always just steps up, and I think you'll see him take a hold of the 132-pound weight class. Caleb Helgeson is a guy to look out for. Brock Espelin, number 6. I think if you're calling like a sleeper of a weight class, Espelin is definitely that guy. He's got to be able to put it together. So I think that's that weight class. Nathan Martian, Colby Schriever, Drayvon Ross. Drayvon Ross looked like really good in that duel that I went up and watched there. So Drayvon Ross could be the guy if he can keep his head. He's got the capabilities to do it. So hopefully,
Martinson at 32 for Southeast Polk.
They got Barta.
No, Barta.
Camden Barta.
Sorry, I don't have it in front of me. I'm not a 3A guy, obviously, but.
Yeah, no, Barta, I believe, unless they've changed something up. But
yeah.
So 38, I think Ross is in there. That could be a guy that can maybe upset some people. 45, DeVille Dentist. I got yelled at for butchering his name multiple times from East, so hopefully that's right. He hasn't even certified.
Yeah, I just hope he wrestles.
I mean, he hasn't even certified for this weight class, so we'll see if he shows up. This will be a tournament to figure out where he's at in the state. So Caleb Corbin, Strickland, those are top 5 matchups there. Lance Runyon at 52, that's the guy, right? But you got Seafried from Waukee, Moss there, Towers, 60, K. DeVos. No one's gonna beat him. Anthony Zach, Logan Niels, Blake Underwood, top 3 in the state right there at CIML. So 170 will be a fun one to watch. I think Anthony Zach obviously is the guy there at 170. He's nationally ranked. 82's got Leo from Centennial and Scott, number 5. 95, Gabe Christensen. Tristan Lick is there too for Fort Dodge, but Tristan Lick, I think Fort Dodge doesn't even know what they're getting with him. He's kind of up and down. He's got the tools, but if they could get him to do the same, what they want him to do every single match, Tristan Lick has the tools. Not sure if he can beat Gabe, but definitely a guy that can be on the stand for Fort Dodge. Greg Hagen, 220. He's the man at that weight class, running for Southeast Polk, but he should be the guy. 285, Lombardi, Anderson, Monahan, Mason City. That will be a fun little one. Obviously, 285 was a big topic in rankings that dropped this last week. So if Lombardi beats these guys, he's only going to get one of them likely. So he knocked those guys out. He's still the number 1 guy, but maybe those guys knock him off. If Lombardi, maybe Lombardi was sick against Vice. I don't know, but Lombardi's the guy at 285 still. I know people want Vice to be number 1 because they knocked him off, and he did not. He dominated Lombardi, but I'm still sticking my guns with Lombardi right now as far as the rankings go. Are you going to come to CIML or what?
It's a really good question. Trying to figure out this weekend. I'm hoping to be taking my son to USA State on Sunday too, but he's sick right now, so kind of got to figure out my weekend a little bit, where I'm going to end up all weekend. But I haven't had too many weekends at home either, so we'll see if I'm let out of the house this weekend.
It's a Friday, so it's technically not a weekend, right?
But I can't come all the way up there and not stay and have a few cold ones afterwards.
You could. All right. So Friday night, CIML live on IA Russell, streaming only, no archives. Get your popcorn, make a party. That's what you're going to need to be doing Friday night, because it is going to be a mini-state tournament. That's the only thing you should be doing on Friday. Sitting at home, trying to make way for conference tournaments the next day, whatever you're doing. Man, I can't believe it, dude. Sectionals is freaking here. Sectionals is almost here. Next weekend, where are you going to go? So maybe you're not going to go this weekend. Next weekend, where are you going to go?
I haven't quite made up my mind yet on sectionals. Districts, I'm leaning towards DeWitt. just a loaded district. When I started going through my rankings and popping in kind of what districts they were in, things like that, I think that's going to be a tough one to miss. So most likely I'll end up in DeWitt there, but I don't know, maybe Solon for sectionals. Haven't quite decided that one yet.
I'm not sure. I think I might take that weekend off. Class 3A, we don't have sectionals.
You can come cover some for me.
They need to get rid of the conference tournaments.
I'm not really opposed to that, but
they used to get rid of the conference tournaments. That's when we have the duels. Conference tournaments are just, who really cares?
Or how about we solve duels this way? If you don't want to use the rankings, if we don't think there's a good system to do dual rankings, how about the weekend of conference tournaments? We put all the district teams into a dual tournament, and you have your 8 districts. Whoever comes out on top makes state duels. You have basically a district dual tournament. You could seed out just the district, put them in a dual tournament, winner take all to go to Des Moines.
Sure as hell would be better than we got.
Yeah.
Conference tournaments are just a joke, honestly. I mean, you see all these guys at the same time, and coaches always preach, like, trying to find tough competition. Getting just familiarity also is not a good thing at this at this level, I think, right? I mean, the more you wrestle a guy, you get a better feel for him. So, yeah, I like that agenda. Let's push that, Lars. You're like a genius tonight.
I think it's better than having to deal with rankings and not knowing who's going to rank them, how we're going to rank them, trying to be consistent. Let them settle it.
Okay, so we're going to stick with high school wrestling here just for a little bit more. We're at West Gym. Every single year now that we've been doing this, it gets bigger and bigger every year. We're looking to sell this place out. 2,000 people. Tickets are going to go sale on Monday. And we don't know how many matches we're going to have. We're shooting for 15, but maybe we have 20. We don't want to be agging names where there's 50 of them, but we will have a good amount of matches. We're going to have at least probably 2 girls matches. Tried to put one together today, but it hasn't. We don't have it locked in yet. We might do the rematch. Might do a rematch of the best girls state tournament match. So we can have 2 girls state tournament or 2 girls matches at West Gym, and then we'll see what we can happen. As far as the high school side goes, we've got a few people that are already committed for it, but putting the matches together is always kind of different. Some kids, Lars, like. I just want to focus on freestyle. I'm done. Well, I think this event is worth waiting for as far as the switching to freestyle. But obviously I'm biased because it's our event. But I think we've been able to show that enough people come to this event to make it a big deal. What matchup do you want to see?
Whew. Of any? I don't know. I'd really like to see Cade DeVos and John Heinrich. Yep. If you're going to go in-state.
In-state, DeVos, Heinrich.
Obviously, I wanted to see Reeves and Schriever, but that one's obviously not going to happen unless they each do it on one leg.
Yeah, I think I'm interested. Avila, that kid really intrigues me. Like, I'll be interested to see what kind of. Obviously, I think he's going to kind of run through the state tournament, but how's he do against some of these older guys, some of the vets of Iowa? Who would you like to see him wrestle?
Avila? 26. How about Ratchy? Be a little bit of a contrast in styles. I think it'd be kind of an interesting match. They're both aggressive. I think it'd be a fun match to watch. But
Ratchy, Avila, I think that's a fire matchup right there. 2 guys that are really good on their feet. Junior, freshman. I think that's the fun one right there.
Sophomore, freshman.
Sophomore. So we'll see if see if we can make that happen. So if you got any matches you want to see, hit in the comment section for War at West Gym. But that's a couple of ones that we're looking at doing.
I think we got a few people locked in. We just got to find the right matchups, and we'll make them happen.
Yeah. So that is going to be March 16th. It's going to be in between your Big Ten championships, Big 12s, and the NCAA tournament. So make plans right now. Usually it's spring break for high school kids, I believe, right? In college? It's usually how we kind of make it.
It's, either that week or the next usually, I think.
Yeah. So tickets will go on sale on Monday. 2,000 tickets. We're going to have some VIP tickets available, so hopefully get those quick. Perry bought all of them last year, if I remember right. And there's going to be
I think there was like 2 others. I think we sold 2 tickets, and then Perry took all the rest of them for VIP.
Olin Zach will be in the event. I'm going to make that happen. That kid, it's one of my favorite wrestlers. I think Olin Zach will be in it for sure. So if you want VIP...
He's you and I guy.
Yeah, if you want VIP tickets, you're going to have to get them early because Perry's going to probably wrap them all up. So, and if there's any like girls as well, like we saw them at Waverly, I think they're going to buy a lot of tickets too. So this thing could sell out for the first time at West Gym. So that's exciting. All right, so CIML, War at West Gym, college. Let's move on to that. You and I, we watched Desanto versus Soriano. I think, I'll be honest, going into it, I did not think Desanto could just break Soriano like he did. Did you? I mean, are you being...
No.
I
had both people asking me beforehand. I was thinking Soriano was going to get it done, but...
You thought Soriano was going to win?
Yeah, going into the match, in my mind, I thought Soriano would win. I thought he was a little too steady for him. I didn't know. I don't know. I think it's been a consistency thing. We need to see Desanto be the best form of himself, every match out, and beating, that's 2 really big wins in a row. Maybe he's there. Maybe he's getting there, but I was still kind of hesitant to call his shot to beat a guy of that level going into that match, but he's erasing a lot of doubts that anybody could have had about him.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they see him win and he gets excited, right? I mean, he's an animated dude, and he's been consistent. He's been able to, he just puts that pressure on nonstop, and you could feel that momentum just kind of, you could feel Soriano breaking, and to get that takedown on the edge, dude, like, that's why you go to Iowa, I think. And that's why Desanto went to Iowa. And I think they say, like, you got Harvard, right? That's that was a hell of a matchup. So, other than that, I mean, that duel was kind of, eh.
Yeah, I mean, Lugo, it was a good match. He wasn't able to quite pull that one out with Ashnold, but yeah, other than that, the duel wasn't anything too crazy.
So, Josh Alber, we can move to him, you and I. Josh Alber is having a hell of a season. This is what I think you and I wanted when they got him. They thought that they could have him like this, just compete on this huge level, having big wins. Man, this guy is poised to have a big year. I'm happy for him, man. He's like been. I feel like he's kind of just been worried about cutting weight, and now I just feel like he's got the confidence to make it happen for you and I. He's the bright spot right now.
Yeah, I felt, again, going into Midlands, like, is it time for Alber to make that jump? Is it not? He had a great tournament. He really had no trouble with Max Mirren. I thought that would be a lot better match than it really was. And he's just consistently been going out, doing his thing. Beating Ironman is just a whole nother level jump to me. It's a top 3 guy. You got to put Alber in that discussion now. He's not just a guy you think is an All-American. He's got to be a high All-American at this point, and hopefully he keeps it up. He's been fun to watch. Hopefully some of those other UNI guys come along with him, and they could score a lot of points with those 5-6 weights that they got that are real strong.
Hey, UNI has just been an interesting team, man. I think they have the guys there, but they just gotta step up. Like Alber straight up, like, he's been able to win those big matches, and that's what they've been needing, right? They've been needing those big time wins. So coming down the crunch time, man, I'm hoping we can pull it through. Iowa State's got some guys that are wrestling really good right now. Obviously Gomez getting pinned, that was a shocker. But he's the type of guy that wins big ones, and he can get caught. And that's what's so crazy about college wrestling is you can have the big time wins, and you can get caught like that, just like that.
Yeah, there's actually some pretty intriguing matchups in my mind against Oklahoma State this weekend. Oklahoma State's going to be favored in a lot of them, but I think we're going to get a chance to see exactly where Iowa State's at. We talked last week about Dresser's doing a lot of things right, and they've really wrestled well this year, and they really were able to challenge Iowa. I think this is just another one of those moments where it's like, okay, how big of a jump have we really taken? Are they ready to go into Stillwater and win some of those really tight, good matchups or not? I don't know, but you look at, 25, I think is a really fun matchup. 33, you're going to favor Fix, but man, you can't count Gomez out. 49's a good match. I just think up and down the lineup, there's going to be some intriguing matchups. Again, Oklahoma State's going to be favored, but I think Iowa State can go in and steal a couple of those matches and make this a pretty interesting duel and kind of show again, like they're just steadily making that climb. Maybe not win the duel, but I don't think they're going to back down. They're going to go in there, they're going to compete, and they're going to take some of those matches, I think.
I think they've won some duels. Obviously, they've got some momentum, but they haven't wrestled anybody to this type of level of Oklahoma State. So after this duel, you'll find out, what kind of team Iowa State really is, right? We'll see if they can win those big matches. Iowa, okay, they go into Iowa and they sure almost beat Iowa. Let's not forget about that. But outside of Iowa, the duels that they've had, this is a big time duel. This is a big time duel for Kevin Dresser and company when it comes to recruiting as well. We kind of skipped over this one. There's some comments about. Unless you got anything else on Iowa State?
No, I'm just looking forward to seeing where they're at against another, really big time opponent.
Lee versus Riviera. Who you taking?
Really? I don't know. I got to go Spencer Lee. I know he's been battling some stuff. I think he's hopefully feeling better, doing a little better. But man, I was Matt's side for that match in Midlands, and obviously that didn't look like Spencer Lee. That's not the Spencer Lee that we're used to, but Rivera controlled that match. Start to finish, he was all over him. Really, Lee never threatened him from his feet. Wasn't able to ride him. So, I think Rivera's figured some stuff out. So I think it'll still be a good match. I don't know. I just think Spencer's in a better place now. I still think I go Spencer Lee, but that's a fun matchup.
Well, we saw what happened last time Lee lost at Midlands.
Right.
Domination. So I think that's what you're going to see. I think sometimes, you expect, I think Iowa fans are expecting Spencer Lee to go out there and dominate the way he did at the NCAA tournament. And it's hard for fans to realize, what can go on in a college athlete's mind, or just daily routine, or injuries, and putting himself out there. So we don't really know what's going on with Spencer Lee. Obviously, he's dominating the first period. Is he sick? We've seen that second period, third period. He's kind of put his foot off the gas. So I don't know if he's been sick or not. I'm not in Iowa wrestling rooms, but it's pretty hard to go against freshman national champ against Riviera. Obviously, we're Iowa homers, as everyone knows and says. So I'm going to go with Spencer Lee. I think he comes out with a chip on his shoulder, big points in the first period. The difference maker is he's going to get some points in transitions, and I think he's going to get a couple cheap tilts on Riviera and take this matchup. So sticking with these lower weights here, too, a question coming in is Gavin Teasdale. Gavin Teasdale, I guess he didn't make the announcement, but Cale Sanderson did, saying that he's not on the team anymore. He was on the team. He's on the team. He's going to compete, not going to compete. Something happened, obviously, here recently where he's not on the team anymore. That was a big announcement here today, that he is gone. He will transfer. Obviously, he committed to Iowa at one point. Do we see him back in Iowa?
Where? I mean, where does he fit? If you got Desanto, you got Renteria, can you even really make 25 at this point? If you do, you got Spencer Lee. I don't think it's really going to happen. Be interesting to see where he fits. Obviously a lot of schools will probably go after him. I don't think Iowa's that place. I really have no insight on where he'll end up, but to me, the more interesting part is, what does this mean for Brody Teske? You know what I mean? A lot of people thought either Teske or Teasdale could wrestle this year, be the 25-pounder for Penn State. Teasdale's gone. Does that mean Brody Teske gets pulled, or do they allow him to redshirt? Do they think they can win it already? Give Brody the future. Yeah,
I think it's good news for Brody Teske. I was kind of I was hoping that Gavin Teasdale would be the guy at 25, and then Teske would be like, all right, I'm coming back. I'm going to go to Iowa State. I'm going to be the guy at Iowa State. But that's wishful thinking, I guess. So Teasdale, there's going to be somebody that's going to pick him up, and they're going to benefit from it. I don't know what's going on in Teasdale's life. Sounds like off the mat issues are the problem. So do you want that? Do you want that in your program? Some people are willing to have second chances. So Teasdale, I don't know where he's going to go. Iowa State, Kevin Dresser probably taken. Mackel's wrestling pretty good, but is Mackel?
You got Gomez, you got Aiden Reeves.
25.
Well, you got Aiden Reeves coming next year. You got Mackel, and then you got Reeves.
Teasdale over Reeves.
Right, but are you going to spend that much money? I don't know. I mean, there's rumored huge off-the-mat issues, too. So how many schools are the big schools going to take all those chances on Teasdale if all these things are true?
Yeah, and there's lots of places that are going to take Teasdale for sure.
Right. You got Lockhaven with Marsteller or something, but are the big schools going to take a
are you taking Lockhaven just taking all these guys that are just?
Oh yeah.
I like that. Well, I have no idea where the heck he's going to go, so I don't even want to speculate where he could go. Good wrestler. Be ashamed to not see him on the mat. That's for sure. So Teasdale, I think is a hell of a wrestler. He's top level. So we'll see what he ends up doing. All right. Josh Alber, Jaden Ironman. That was a big matchup. Talked about that. Any other questions we need to get to here? Let me look through some of these. We talked about Lee, Riviera, Tyrell Gordon. Tyrell Gordon's having a heck of a year.
Gordon's wrestled well. He's one of those guys that, we talked about it a little bit last week, but just consistent games. He wasn't a well-known guy till really, the summer before his senior year. He had a really good Fargo after his junior year. Had a good senior year, had another good Fargo, just kind of made jumps, needs better technique, but had a high ceiling. He's wrestled well. I think he really has the opportunity to do pretty well. And I think if he can find a way into the national tournament this year would be a win. But I think the ceiling's really high for him.
Well, this has been Potentially Dangerous 125. Appreciate everybody listening live. Lots of good comments. A little bit, got some text messages here already. People fired up, which is always good. You know, if you've got questions, you know, there's always kind of some answers on it. And I'll be happy to, you know, text me, tweet me. Happy to answer any kind of questions. If you got beef, hit me back with it. I just got a tweet right here, like 10 minutes ago. Mr. Dentist, me, you, what's up, or West Jim?
I don't know. Eli Lloyd also, I think, somewhere in there said him and Dentist for West Jim, but.
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to wrestle Dentist.
Somebody suggested you and me, but all I got to do is survive the first period, and I think I can take up and lay on you, man.
Yeah, I can't get out first period for sure. I mean, but if you get through the first, you're okay. But Dentist, this is fun, and Dentist has wrestled as many matches as I have this year, which is 0. So that's funny. All right. That's been episode 125 of Potentially Dangerous. Until next time, we'll see you right here next Tuesday, 9 o'clock, Facebook Live.